Press briefing here in the Charles William Press Hall. The Deputy Minister for Press and Public Affairs, Honorable Daniel Sando, will come and make an introductory comments, after which we will invite our guests and the Chief Administrator of the Ministry of Information, Cultural Affairs and Tourism. You will have your turn where you will have the opportunity to ask questions based upon the presentation from our guests and the Minister of Information, Cultural Affairs and Tourism. I have the most singular honor to invite my immediate boss, Honorable Daniel Sando, who will make his introductory comments. Mr. Sando.
Daniel Sando.
Good afternoon to you all. We want to welcome all of you in radio land, television, and the social media who are following this edition of the MICAT Radio Press Briefing. We are again happy to be here. Today we have a lot to talk about. And the routine at the MICAT regular press briefing is always the same. As the spokehouse of the government of Liberia, we normally have to do some clearinghouse on some issues, trending issues. Of course, there are always trending issues in the media. We follow these issues in the newspapers, on the radio stations, on social media. Sometimes we also use this platform to clarify on what government policy is on a particular issue, and to also highlight the accomplishment of the government of Liberia. So the MICAT regular press briefing is that platform that is always jam-packed with topical issues. Now I would like to appreciate media houses for elevating stories in the print, electronic and online platform, in the media, always elevating stories from the MICAT regular press briefing. We appreciate you. Like we always said, the media is our partner in this business. Now as a government, we have a duty to create that enabling environment for the media to thrive and to do their work, because we do believe that the media is the white door society. While we govern the country, they provide that observatory network for all of the activities of the government and the report to the people of Liberia. So that's why the media is our partner. Today we have the energetic Director General of the Civil Service Agency. Last week, the media was inundated with the news of the President's suspension of over 400 public officials who are found not to be in conformity with the government's asset declaration regime. The President struck the roar of deterrence, and the civil service boss is here to answer some of the questions that you have been asking or that are lingering on your minds. But before the civil service boss mounts the podium, Minister Jeremy Pia, who needs no introduction on the platform, will come and clear the air on some issues. And then after he's concluded, we'll take the presentation from the Director General of the Civil Service, Honorable Joekai. And then the formula said we'll take your questions, and the speakers will provide answers to the questions that the media will ask. Without much, let me now encourage all of you to please turn your gadgets on silent to avoid distraction. We also like to announce before we call the minister that this MICAT press briefing, we are doing our best as administration to expand the coverage of the press briefing. So there are a couple of radio stations that are now beginning to air the press briefing. We are also getting into partnership with other commercial radio stations and non-commercial radio stations to do what we call a regular relay of the MICAT regular press briefing, because this is the premier platform for the dissemination of government information. Maybe there are other people, some of our compatriots who are engaged on a press conference ongoing, and so they cannot follow it. They do not have access to internet. Those radio stations will bring you a relay of the MICAT press conferences on a daily basis. So that being said, let me now invite the official spokesperson of the government of Liberia, Honorable Jeremy Mafukia, to the podium. Okay, so I will speak to some issues, and then the minister will come and conclude from the angle of the Ministry of Information before we take the Director General of the Civil Service Agency. At this platform, we have always indicated that the media is our partner in progress. There's no doubt that in a wholesome, functioning democracy, the media plays a very pivotal role. The stories you report, the podcasts that you do on Facebook, those podcasts, those stories, those publications form the basis of the national conversation. And so while we, as a government, would not want to dictate to you how you do your work, just want to encourage you to sometimes take into consideration the ABC of journalism. I say this will mean that there was a publication in one of the news outlets to the effect that a House of Representatives under the leadership of Speaker Richard Nambekong is in possession of a resolution seeking to impeach the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court, unquote. Of course, the story claimed our attention, and the publication didn't go beyond the allegation to point to anything substantive. And so they left the Liberian people who read these publications in doubt. So as a government and as a Ministry of Information, we have said that we speak for all three branches of the government. This is a platform where we attack members of the judiciary, we attack members of the legislature, and we speak for the executive. No. And so in keeping with that commitment, we reached out to the office of the Speaker, and they have clarified that the publication in its entirety is a malicious lie and a diabolical fabrication. The office of the Speaker has also urged that particular media entity and all other media institutions to please verify information through official channels before publication, instead of indulging into patronage and unconfirmed reports that mislead the public and create unnecessary political tension in the government. As I indicated, to be a good journalist will require you to be accurate in the exercise of the profession. The story as was published has no iota of truth. You have a country with three branches of government, and you are deliberately publishing a story to put one branch against the other. It is not good for our democracy, and we have to say that. His Excellency, President Boakai has returned from the 38th section of the Extraordinary Summit of the African Union. A lot of good things happened for Liberia while the president was in Ethiopia. And the first thing I'd like to talk about is the overwhelming endorsement of Liberia's bid for the non-permanent seat by the African Union. This, to a greater extent, proves that the country under the leadership of President Boakai has repositioned herself, that we can now gain the trust and acceptability of all the countries in Africa to endorse our bid for the non-permanent seat. Speaks to the fact that the government is working to repair the damaged image of this country. One of the key things that was a point of highlight during the campaign was how do we re-establish Liberia back in the international space. Don't forget, our passports were in the hands of hardened criminals. The drug dealers had our passports. For that, sanctions were raining, like October rain, on officials of the government. It has cost the president a great deal of time and energy to re-establish Liberia's image on the international scene. And our bid has been accepted. The foreign minister and dean of the president's cabinet, Minister Sarah Beslo-Yanti, is leading the steering committee. And the steering committee has launched the campaign internationally, locally, like you already know. And they are moving from country to country to ensure that we can get the required numbers of votes to win the non-permanent seat on the Security Council. We can do it because we are no stranger. As a country, we are no stranger when it comes to the workings of the United Nations. In fact, that is where Liberia belongs. And we ask members of the media to give us our support. This is one time in point where we have to see our nation above the cause of our nation, this national cause, above ourselves. The support, the endorsement, the publication you do to create the publicity around this campaign will help, and your effort will be solely appreciated. Just before the president could depart from Ethiopia, the CEO of Ethiopian Airlines, Mesfin Tiswi, held a chat with President Boakai. He held a chat with President Boakai just before his departure from Ethiopia. He paid a positive visit to President Joseph Boakai at Ethiopian International Airport prior to President Boakai's departure from the country. During the engagement, Mr. Tiswi expressed his deepest gratitude to President Boakai for the warm welcome extended to the airline and lauded the resumption of flights to Monrovia, describing it as a significant milestone for regional integration and economic growth in Africa. The discussion encompassed areas of mutual interest, including Ethiopian Airlines operations in Liberia, prospects for expansion, and the pivotal role of the aviation in enhancing connectivity across the continent. Mr. Taswi reaffirmed Ethiopian Airlines' commitment to delivering world-class service to Liberia and bolstering its presence in West Africa aviation sector. For his part, the Liberian leader, President Boakai, in turn expressed appreciation for Ethiopian Airlines' sustained investment in Liberia, acknowledging the airline's crucial role in facilitating business, tourism, and diplomatic engagement. The President also emphasized his administration's dedication to creating a conducive environment for the aviation industry, ensuring seamless travel and expanded economic opportunities for Liberia. While at the summit, the Liberian leader also championed Africa's push for reform in the United Nations Security Council. President Joseph Boakai reaffirmed Liberia's strong commitment to the African Union's common position on United Nations Security Council reform. Represented by his Foreign Minister and Dean of Cabinet Sarah Yanti, at the reading of the report of the Committee of 10 at the 38th Extraordinary Section of the AU Assembly of Heads of States and Government, Minister Yanti conveyed President Boakai's emphasis on the urgent need to correct historical injustices by ensuring Africa's full and fair representation on the global stage. Addressing the AU Committee of 10 Heads of States and Government on the UN Security Council reform, President Boakai, through his Foreign Minister, commended His Excellency Dr. Julius Malema, President of the Republic of Sierra Leone, for the comprehensive report on the ongoing efforts to secure Africa's rightful place within the Security Council. Minister Yanti noted that Liberia stands firmly beyond the AU demand for preferment seats at the UN Security Council, but she also suggested that it should not be just for 2, but instead for 4 African seats, 2 preferment, 2 non-permanent seats. This is not a privilege according to law, it is a right that is overdue. The Minister of Foreign Affairs of the Republic of Liberia further reinforced Liberia's commitment to pursuing a non-permanent seat for Africa on the Security Council to position the country at the forefront of the movement to amplify Africa's influence in global governance. She recalled Liberia's historical role as a founding member of the United Nations and continued dedication in shaping a fairer and more inclusive international order. On that note, let me now invite our boss, Minister Jeremy Pia, who will make additional comments on behalf of the Ministry of Information before we can take the Director General of the Civil Service Agency.
We just wanted to touch on Mr. Samuel is supposed to be the speaker at today's conference, but I thought it was important to make the following points because we bring out some of the positive initiatives that have been undertaken by the government. But just before doing that, I'm told one of your friends here, who is a journalist, a science here, lost his mother. What's her name? You're not aware that one of your friends lost their mother? What kind of fraternity you guys? You may even go on the ground, they're small, so they may always asking all the controversial questions. So we are told that he lost his mother and that he left today for the Southeast, and I'm kind of surprised that you members of the media reporters don't know. But we just wanted to extend sympathy to him on behalf of the ministry. There are a few things that the government decided that they will focus on during this dry season. And one of the areas of intervention is with roads. So we thought we needed to provide you some updates on what is going on with roads, new updates for that matter. For those of you who move around Monrovia, I'm sure you're still moving a number of communities where you face a lot of challenges. Potholes, some of them may even be looking their wells, and so forth. One of the places that has such serious challenge is the Barnaville side. From Barnaville Junction moving all the way up to Quebec has been terribly bad. The Ministry of Public Works took note of that. They were able to intervene. If you now went back on that road, driving from the junction straight up to Quebec, you're going to drive on a very smooth road without those potholes that existed there. It's a part of the continuing interventions that the Ministry of Public Works is making to make sure our roads are pliable. And we keep talking about that because we were told that in the last 6 years before we came here, plenty of things were happening here. One of the places that they gave emphasis was with road construction. So much so that we started to name our officials after those interventions. We're calling people bar road medicine, this one medicine, that one medicine. So it's a kind of concerning that we came and all these things are supposed to be fixed because there was some medicine fixing somewhere we have to be doing on the road. And if some of you are here who live on that road I'm talking about, you know what is being. The ministry was able to intervene and it's okay. They are also targeting Johnsonville to Dixville to Catwell for similar interventions so that those roads are 100% pliable. Work has since been continuing from the Gabriel Tucker Bridge to Freeport. It is important to know that what the government said was that we're not going to rebuild the road leading from Gabriel Tucker to Freeport. The reason is simple. Because by August, the actual reconstruction of the road should start. With a grant from the government of Japan. We've gotten the approval for that grant, which is around 18 million USD. It's fully secure to ensure the construction of that road. The signing of the exchange notes and the grant agreement will take place on March 12th in Monrovia. Liberia's foreign minister and the name of the president's cabinet, Cyril Nyanti, will sign on behalf of the government, while the Japanese ambassador accredited to Liberia but based in Accra will sign on behalf of the Japanese. The work on that road will start in August, like I said. And it will be what the Ministry of Public Works described as a composite road. What they said that means is that because of the nature of the soil over there, the first layer of the road will be concrete, rigid concrete. And at the top of it will be asphalt. So on them, they will build all the drainages, do all the things they're supposed to do, and then put concrete on them. Because you know when you're building something with concrete, those of you who build houses, you put the steel and wire, everything on the ground. In their thinking, that will solve the perpetual problem of repairing the road and getting damaged, repairing the road and getting damaged. So the Japanese will use that. They will do the rigid concrete, and then they put the asphalt over it, and the entire stretch will be a brand new road from there up to Freeport. So all the interventions you see there currently, and which is excellent because I'm on the road now, I live on that side, I use the road every morning and every evening. The places we never used to pass in between there, easily we can now drive there smoothly. And for some of you who live there, you can be testimonies of what is happening there. The government is not just giving an impression of what it will do. The government is delivering on what it is supposed to do. And if you live in those communities and you apply in those routes, you will see and feel the impact. In addition to that, on what is described as the Urban Resilient Project that is supported by the World Bank, funds have been secured for phase 1 of a project that will ensure the rehabilitation of all the road network in the Painesville Belt. If you are driving on SKD Boulevard, for example, you will notice that many parts of that road are damaged. Huge park holes. If you are taking the other shortcut while on that route to go to Police Academy, most part of that road damaged. There are many other routes in that Painesville Belt that are all damaged. This project intends to solve all that problem. The money is secure, and the work they will be doing on those roads will include the drainage. The drainages sometimes are part of the problem. You build a road, no proper drainage, you have a waterlogging situation, the road doesn't last, it gets damaged. So they're trying to solve all of that. And the World Bank, on the project that I just named, provided $80 million, which will be used to do those work. The interventions will start in the next 2 weeks. So after those periods, if you drove by on some of those places where you see all the potholes, they will all be removed, the roads will be restored to normal, and that those of you who are commuting along those roads will commute perfectly. It has a phase 2, and the phase 2 funding is also secure for you. Phase 2 will cover the whole Sinker Belt. So anywhere in Sinker, whether it's the avenues or whatever, where you have streets that are damaged, they will all be restored, and it will extend to part of Central Monrovia. There's a current project that is handling the restoration of the road in Central Monrovia. That's the reason why when you pass a place like a public works there, where that road almost not necessarily fixed, it's under that project. But this project that targets Sinker will also extend to some parts of Central Monrovia. The goal is, before May, you will travel all around the city, all parts of the city, and you will travel on roads that do not contain what you currently see. Thanks to the Ministry of Public Works, thanks to our partners, particularly the World Bank, that is providing funding for that intervention to be taking place. And like I said, all these interventions I'm talking about, solving all the potholes, whether in the Painesville Belt or in Sinker and Central Monrovia, will be completed by May. In other areas, like from Johnsonville to Mount Bartley, you know road works have been ongoing there. I'm talking about pavement. That is 90% complete. And the Matali Road project, which was started and is continuing, has covered about 600 meters of paved road. The intent is to make sure that our whole stretch passing through to Fiaba, to the Matalis, back to the FE, will be fully rehabilitated and pliable with all the constraints that people see there currently. From Soul Clinic, the road is also being paved. It's ongoing. It's around, at the current, is around 55% complete. Those of you who know the 540 community, road works are also taking place there. That road is 96% complete. The government are also taking some steps to ensure that all of the road projects that were inherited from the past will be completed 35 to 45% this year. Those interventions are currently taking place. Like I told you about the Freeport work, the one from Johnsonville, from Togger Bridge to Freeport is progressing. Of course, you will notice that from Freeport going up to the Douala end, they started the work. It is a combination of also rigid concrete and asphalt. They've been paving from the Freeport itself right now until they close to Jamaica Road Junction. For that one, the now patching is a brand new pavement. It will continue all the way up to, at least initially, to Bowman Bridge, as I'm told by the Ministry of Public Works, but the goal is to take it to St. Paul Bridge. That also is going on, so much of the work being done, and the pavement has started from Freeport, like I said, almost the Jamaica Road, and then the rest of the road going, they're doing F work, they're doing the building of drainages, they're planting coverts, so that in the end, we will have to be able to drive from the Gabriel Tucker Bridge straight up to St. Paul Bridge on a road that does not resemble what we currently have. And the actual pavement of that stretch of road that starts from the Freeport going down has started, and it will continue. The next area I wanted to talk about shortly is the water sewer. You see, we're talking about roads, and water is also something very crucial. And sometimes some of the things that are happening there, when we don't talk about it, nobody will know about it, people will think that nothing is happening. Maybe because of the war we fought, there were lots of lawlessness here. People have built structures on the sewage lines. People build structures on the fire hazard. And sometimes people have been looking for it, they can't even find it. The water and sewer team has been looking, they've discovered many of them. And if you are not aware, already be informed that they are breaking down those structures. If your structure were on the water lines, it's been broken down, no matter where you build it. If it is on the fire hazard, it's been broken down no matter where you build it. And that process is currently ongoing. Water and sewer is doing that. The entity also has been focusing on taking water from beyond Monrovia. Because before the war, we had water in Kakata, in Mahibi, we had it in MICAT, we had it in Zwedru, and other places. So they've been trying to restore. Right now, they have 100% completed the restoration of water in Bopolu City, Bapolu County. It is now awaiting dedication by President Boakai, and the people in Bopolu will now have access to well-born, safe drinking water. Contracts are already being awarded for the connection of 2,500 new households in the Monrovia area, including Painesville, Bardonsville, and the rest of the villas. That connection, the 2,500 connection, will be done with no cost to the homes that will benefit. They are free connections because the cost for those connections are already paid for by the World Bank under the project. If you recall, during the annual message, President Boakai announced that in the next 1 year, additional 3,500 new households will be connected to the water system. This 2,500 I'm talking about is a part of the 3,500 that the President promised. The rest of the fee for the ones that are still pending will now be paid by the World Bank. The people who will be collected in that second part of it will pay, but the fees are so minimal that you not even know you're spending money. Already, frankly, we know that water is one of the cheapest thing here when you connect to the sewage line. You pay very small money. Way back when I was in Momotan, I used to have water in my house. And so now the whole month in my bill at 700. I don't know whether that has changed, but it used to be so cheap. The water and sewer have also completed the feasibility studies, and they are preparing for the restoration of water, well-born water in Zwedru, in Pligo, and in Greenville. The GOL has initial funding for this project, which is in the tune of 1.5 million, and the rest of the funding will come from our partners. The final thing I want to talk about, when the President spoke at the annual message, he announced that the government of Liberia was going to give befitting burials to former President Torbert and former President Samuel Doe. The families of these individuals have already taken seize of this matter. They commended the President's action. They believe it was the best thing to do. And so today, the group that is referred to as the April 22nd Memorial Group, which brings together the family of Torbert and other people who are friends to the family, they have announced that they are going to have the exhumation of the remains of former President Dr. Torbert, who was killed along with others during the coup. That ceremony will take place today at the Pan Grove Cemetery on Center Street. It will be performed by the St. Moses Funeral Parlor at about 1 p.m. If it is 1 p.m., then they have started. If it is at 1 p.m., then they will start soon. And then they will ensure that the body or the remains is taken to the St. Moses funeral home, a waiting period of the reburial as was promised by the government of Liberia. So it's an indication that most of the things the President said at the annual message were practical things. They were things that he meant. They were things that he was serious about. Now you see the connection of hospital to the water system and the exhumation taking place now for the proper burial of President Torbert. We know that maybe the family of President Doe will take similar steps, and then we ensure that all the things the president said are fully achieved. I just thought these were important updates to add on to the main speaker for today, who was the deputy minister, and then I have the pleasure to invite the DG.
Yes, sir.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Mr. Minister, to tell you the truth, I am overwhelmed. Every time I come here to the Ministry of Information, I see new things. The ministry has significantly transformed under your leadership. You are making a significant difference from downstairs, through the corridors, those cracked walls, those crumbling walls, the unpleasant ceiling, the way it looked, the hallways, the offices. I mean, everything is brand new. I'm not making this up. So if you're watching, you need to try to make your way here. If you are in Monrovia, others who are not here far away from Monrovia and abroad, I'm telling you the truth about the changes that are taking place at the Ministry of Information. This is exceptional leadership. I'd like to thank you and the entire team. You're doing extremely well. I see the publication of New Liberia is now different. We're having it weekly. The quality has changed. Everything is improved. Everyone is informed, updated about happenings in the government. This is the open governance system that the president talked about, and charging us with the responsibility to ensure that the public is fully aware and informed about activities of the government. I just want to congratulate you and the entire team at the Ministry of Information, Cultural Affairs, and Tourism for the significant work you are doing. Thank you so much. To our precious media, it's another opportunity to be here today again to interact with you. I want to begin by saying that as the Deputy Minister announced earlier and reinforced by the Minister, all along since last week, the President, His Excellency Josiah F. Boakai Sr., took a milestone decision last week to suspend more than 400 government officials. Many of you in the media, you are fully aware this has attracted tremendous attention, both home and abroad. Anti-graft institutions are asking real questions. Liberians are commending the president overwhelmingly for the decision, but they are also asking critical questions. And the role that the Civil Service Agency plays is very critical. If you don't know, let me first let you know that the Civil Service Agency controls and manages the centralized payroll, meaning the payrolls of more than 100 spending entities. Those are government functionaries. And so the president's action, which is consistent with the asset declaration regime of the country, of the government, the Civil Service Agency also has a role to play, a significant role to play, because that presidential mandate has to be enforced. And in the chemistry of the enforcement, the Civil Service Agency has to ensure that those suspended, their salaries are blocked for the month of February, because the decision was made by the president in the month of February. So if anybody is asking questions why the CSA immediately got involved, that's your answer. And we also believe that we have a responsibility to come to you, and through you, we can reach out to the public to update them on what we have done so far in ensuring that the president's mandate is enforced. So, the Civil Service Agency, as you all know, is committed to transparency, accountability, and good governance. And the president's vision to ensure that we are accountable as officials has to be upheld by all of us. In keeping with that, the Civil Service Agency immediately blocked 216 government officials from spending entities whose payrolls are controlled and managed by the CSA for the month of February. This action by the CSA is consistent with the President's action and mandate. That means effective this February, the officials concerned will not receive their salaries. Those affected ministries, agencies, and commissions include the Ministry of State for Presidential Affairs. We have up to 2 officials whose salaries have been blocked. The Ministry of Internal Affairs, we have up to 188 officials whose salaries have been blocked. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs, we have up to 3 officials whose salaries have been blocked. The rest is put in one category, and those include the Governance Commission, the Public Procurement Concession Commission, the PPCC, the Liberia Land Authority, the Ministry of Justice, the Drug Enforcement Agency, the Ministry of National Defense, and several others are in one category. Officials in those ministries were also affected by the President's action. And in keeping with that, the Civil Service Agency also blocked their salaries for the month of February. I'm pleased to report that as a result of the CSA's action for the month of February, the CSA is saving $104,073.25 United States dollars. The Civil Service Agency is in contact with the Bureau of State Enterprises. The head of the Bureau of State Enterprises and the Civil Service Agency have had conversations about actions to be taken involving all those who were affected by the President's action at all of our state-owned enterprises. We have also agreed, the Director General of the BSE&R, that after the action is effected and the affected officials' salaries are blocked, the BSE will furnish the CSA with the information in terms of the total amount that's been saved as a result of their action. That amount plus the $104,073.25 already saved by the Civil Service Agency will be moved into an escrow account. The Civil Service Agency has already communicated with the Comptroller and Accounting General for the creation of such escrow accounts. And once those actions are taken, a full report will be presented to His Excellency, the President, regarding our actions across the spending entities and the Bureau of State Enterprises. And the President will make a decision what the government is going to do with the money saved. Probably the President will decide to apply the money to a quick impact project in any of the critical sectors of our country, but that will be a decision for the President to make. So the Civil Service Agency is urging all government officials affected by the suspension action of the President to make sure that They avoid continuous disruptions in their salaries. And the way to do that, after declaring their assets with the Liberia Anti-Corruption Commission, they will have to get their clearance or clearances from the Ministry of State for Presidential Affairs to be presented to the Civil Service Agency before they are restored on the payroll. The Civil Service Agency is committed to this process, one, because it's our statutory responsibility to ensure that this is done. Two, because the President's vision to ensure accountability, transparency, and integrity across government must be upheld, and we are charged with that responsibility. I just want to indicate that I personally, as an official of government, I saw it as an obligation because my boss, the president of this country, and the vice president also declared their assets. And that was a motivation for me. That was an exceptional example, and I'm sure a motivation and an example of other officials of government who declare their assets. Declaring your assets doesn't end the process established by the asset declaration regime. As I speak to you, many of us who declare our assets, those assets to a large extent have been verified by the LACC. Some of us are still going through the verification process. So when you declare your assets, the LACC follows up with you to make sure that those assets that you declare do really exist and they belong to you. That is part of the accountability aspect of it, to which we all have a responsibility to follow and abide by. I also like to take the opportunity to bring you to speed with the government salary top-up process. The Minister of Finance and Development Planning, some part of last year, came here and informed the Liberian people that the government was considering topping up the salaries of employees, essential employees, certain essential employees in critical sectors like health, education, security, and agriculture. Since then, the Ministry of Finance and Development Planning and the Civil Service Agency have been working together to do the rationalization in terms of the chemistry, the modalities of the top-up. The top-up process is not just somebody closing their eyes or looking at the ceiling and saying, John Brown will give you $40, will give you $30. We know that many people are used to that from a few years ago, because that's how people were put on the payroll and that's how salaries were assigned to people in total disregard to the pay grade and classification system. But that's why we still have a problem with people not receiving the kinds of salaries that they deserve in keeping with their backgrounds and their pay grades and classifications. So, no, we agree, the Ministry of Finance, Development Planning, and the Civil Service Agency, that the CSA will sit with the sector institutions like Ministry of Health and get a proposal from Ministry of Health on how the top-up should affect the employees concerned. We did that with Ministry of Health, and I'm glad to report that in addition to what the employees are receiving, the Ministry of Finance and Development Planning allotted $3.8 million to be provided annually, which will affect 5,612 employees. That has been applied in a way that those below the minimum wage, they always come up to $150. So you don't take below that. Then those in the different categories will be affected by that based on ranges. We have done that for the health sector. We have done that for the Ministry of Education. We have done that for the Liberia National Police. So Ministry of Education is around $3.1 billion that annually will be applied to their existing compensation in their budget. And about 9,515 people will benefit, predominantly teachers in various categories. The Liberia National Police, the Ministry of Finance allotted additional $900,000, and that will be annual. And that will affect about 4,656 personnel, and that will cut across. So that people who have been making $90, $95, $96 will move them upwards to at least a baseline of $150. The Liberian Immigration Service, Ministry of Finance allotted $757,714, and that will also be annual. And that is going to affect about 2,122 officers across the Liberian Immigration Service. So there are pending adjustments, and when I say pending, meaning that the chemistry, the modality is being worked out between CSA and each of the entities I'm going to name to you. The Liberia Drug Enforcement Agency, the Ministry of Finance will make additional allotment, and it's going to be around $305,808, and for annual increase, and also to improve the wages of officers. The National Fire Service is going to be the same, around $271,000 annual increase to also improve the wages of officers. Currently, we are working with the John F. Kennedy Medical Hospital and to make additional allotment of around $125,379 annual increase that will affect the employees. You know how critical the role of health workers are to this country, and especially so the referral we have in the country. For us to be proud of the kind of work that our people do at those health institutions, we have to make sure that we improve the conditions for them. And part of that is to ensure satisfaction. Satisfaction also comes through what you pay them and the services, and other benefits that you provide. So the Jackson Fiado Hospital, also the Ministry of Finance, we're working with them to make additional allotment of $60,000 annual increase. And the Phoebe Hospital also to make additional allotment of $2,000 annual increase. And these are all pending conclusion by the Civil Service Agency and the Ministry of Finance and Development Planning. This is something that we are working on assiduously, making sure that it happens as quickly as possible, because expectations are very hard, and so we got to make sure that this works. So we are definitely doing our best as a government. The president stood right here in this historic hall last year when he launched the Employee Status Regularization Project, and the president informed the country that this year in 2025 there will be improvement in the wages of quote-unquote legitimate civil servants. Since the president made that statement and launched the ESRP, and the CSA went all out to ensure that we collected data and that we made sure that people are placed in their right places based on their backgrounds. We're not there yet, but significant efforts have been made. And that is reflected in the attitude of our civil servants. People's minds are changing about their jobs. People are now waking up early in the morning, don't want to be late, they want to sign in on time, they don't want to be affected, they don't want salary deductions. They are being encouraged to do that by many of the actions that we took last year to fix our long-standing human resource problem that we have. So the government is committed to that, and that's what this top-up system has been instituted by the government. And once it's complete, we will make a full disclosure. I'm not sure you worry about that, because this government is open, this government is transparent, this government holds itself accountable. The actions of the president shows that President is making sure that anybody who's not in line with his accountability, transparency, and integrated vision, then you are not on board. And every one of us have our individual responsibility from our institutions to make sure that we uphold that. We also, and lastly, I will speak on the status of the ongoing retirement process. I spoke about it the last time I appeared here, but we have made significant progress. Close to 500 eligible people have been enrolled into the pension payroll. That's significant progress. Some of them even started receiving their benefits as far back as January, and they will continue to receive it because it's something to work for, something to save with government through their deductions and everything. So there are people also, when we came here to talk about the retirement process last year, mid last year, we told you that this government also went as far back as 2020, 2019, to bring on board, to complete the C1 forms of people who were retired then, but never received any benefits. Those people, many of them are also being enrolled into the national payroll system because those are people who deserve it. They work for it and they serve this country, you know, in an extraordinary way. So it is the responsibility of the government to ensure that they receive their just benefits and their pension salaries. Towards that end, the government of Liberia through the Civil Service Agency will take the following actions beginning this February. If you can recall, we gave those people, eligible people, employees, 3 months to stay home and receive their salaries in the form of handshake. That is not their pension pay, no, that was just handshake to say thank you. The fact that at that time, we did not move them to the pension payroll, we kept them on the payroll for December, for January, they took pay, so it's like in essence, like 5 months they took pay. So going forward, the CSA will remove the names of the over 400 employees we've already enrolled into the national pension payroll from the national payroll. They will not be there anymore because they are already on the pension payroll. And you know the rules. We cannot double dip and we cannot encourage that by any measure. The CSA will also remove the names of eligible employees whose C1 forms, and I'd like to underscore that, whose C1 forms were processed and submitted to NASCA for enrollment. Meaning that we have processed your C1 form already. You are only waiting for NASCA to put you on the pension payroll. So we cannot keep you on the payroll anymore. So whenever NASCA puts you on the pension payroll, if you miss your pension pay for 1 month, we pay you retroactively. NASCA will pay you retroactively. If you miss it for 2 months, NASCA will pay you retroactively. So that is for those eligible employees who participated in the nationwide pre-retirement counseling workshops and data collection activities, and their C1 forms were already processed. So we are going to take them off the payroll, and NASCA will pay them accordingly. And they will continue to receive their pension salaries going forward. The CSA will remove the name of eligible employees who deliberately refused to attend the nationwide pre-retirement counseling workshops and data collection exercises and sign the C1 forms. In many of the institutions, the CSA had timelines for all the retirement activities, unlike in the past. People would just be abruptly told that you are no longer a government employee. Many people just say, as of this day, you are off the payroll with no notification, nothing. But we took time, over a long period of time, to notify people, the institutions, the individuals concerned, and we informed them about these nationwide pre-retirement workshops, counseling workshops, and data collection activities and completion of the C1 forms. Many were informed, their names were on the lists that the CSA received, very qualified for retirement, some 65, 67, 68, but they refuse to go through this. But they've been on the payroll because we decided that we'll keep them on for like 3 months after the process, but they even extended to 5 months. So now the CSA is officially taking them off the payroll. Yeah. And they still have room. They still have room to come to the CSA to initiate their processes, and CSA will submit their C1 forms to NASCO to be enrolled because they deserve it. The deductions were made from their salaries over the period of time they work, so it's a responsibility of the government to make sure that they are enrolled into the national payroll, pension payroll, so that they can receive their pension benefits. Unlike the past, again, the C1 form was problematic. It was very huge. It frustrated people. Some people would just start the process and they abandoned it because to complete it was difficult. But again, we took measures working with NASCO. We have transformed that form. I think it's just about 2 pages or 3 pages. Very simple to complete the C1 form. So CSA is open to that process. I want to say to all of you again, the Civil Service Agency is committed to the enforcement of the President's mandate. It's consistent with accountability, transparency, and every Liberian is interested in that as much as they are hailing the President for the action and the commitment demonstrated by His Excellency towards the fight against corruption in our country. The CSA remains committed to ensuring that we all succeed collectively as a government and as a people. Thank you.
Thank you so much. It's good to see you, DG. It's been a while. My name is Maurice Oleki, and I report for OKFM. I also want to say thanks to Mr. Sandra for his evaluation. But Minister, I was wanted to bring something to your attention. Few months back, as we saw the President suspended some officials. One of them I can name, the LIS boss, Senator Steve Zabo, former Senator Steve Zabo. He was suspended, and I know that he was suspended for a certain period of time, and we got to know that that time has elapsed. So I want to know how far some of those suspensions, particularly the issue of the LIS boss, and also to DG Joekai. Thank you so much for your information. First of all, one of the things I want to know, you talk about C1 form. I want to know about that. And two to that is you talk about some of the people, like the salary table that you talked about, top. Yeah, top. And I want to know, because the last time some of the radio stations in Liberia and open telephone lines, like for OKFM, open telephone lines for directors and security personnel to call and tell the public on the plan like the government said they were having on this issue of the salary top. But some of them said they were experiencing disparity, because I know your plan is to pull everybody on par, like you are a patrolman. All of you supposed to be on the same level in terms of salary. But some of them said they experience disparity. Are there plans to address this particular issue that has to do with the salary disparity? Thank you so much.
Experience disparity
in salary, like for example, maybe Colonel John supposed to get maybe 200 hours, and Colonel Brown supposed to get 200 hours work. But in receiving the money from the bank, So we found out that maybe John will get 195 or 180, something like that. And that's the disparity I'm talking about. Thank you.
But the top one actually took effect.
Yep. That's why most of them said.
They said it took effect.
That's why most of them
Please confirm it. Please
That's
confirm.
why most of them.
Thank you.
Okay, so my name is Joekai, and I work for the local newspaper. So, digital is so kind for the expression for me. But I want to know, the Liberia Anti-Corruption Commission came up with a final list, non-compliant list, 457. And you told us that you were able to block 260, if I stand to be corrected. So, I want to know, how did you derive at that number and what becomes of the other numbers? Thank you.
My name is Josiah F and I report for the online TV and website. This question is intended for the minister, but since the minister is not here, Mr. Sando will answer. So, the Minister of Public Works informed us that the overhead bridge project is expected to start in February. And today is the 18th. We left 10 days to end this month. Is the government still on course with the overpass bridge? Second, have you identified the site where the equipment will be kept? Thank you.
Well, good afternoon. My name is Kura Thompson, and I report for the Tuesday Independent newspaper. I have just a question for the DG. During your address to the press concerning the salary top-up, I did not hear about the Ministry of Information, and there are reporters assigned here who are taking salary below the pay wage. Are you still thinking in that direction, or they are not important? Thank you.
Thank you so much. So my name is James M. Bala, and I report for Radio Joekai MICAT. Firstly, my questions go to the Minister, Mr. Sano. Thank you so much for the way that you did have radio stations across the country that are broadcasting going live, that which Joan Africa in MICAT County has started doing since the day of the government taking instructions of the current. But the question there is, what yardsticks are you going to use to get the radio stations managers working with them in making sure that the government messages go across the country? And the last question goes to the DG. Our DG, thank you so much.
Sir.
What prospects does the government of Liberia, one in regards to access declaration, is there any plan by the government to confiscate people's properties through the LACC, GAC, if in their asset declaration, the asset oversees what they have worked for over the years? Because I know people are afraid to declare their assets. So we want to know, is there any plan for the government to confiscate properties from people? Thank you so much. And it was a follow-up question, I want to take it from him. Yeah, you made mentions of taking 216 persons, which they will not receive salary this month. And the government told us 400 plus. Now that you are taking only 216 persons, would that not be looked at as a witch hunt in this process of this?
Oh my God.
Thank you. My name is Mark S. Gadi, and I report for Bushel Radio. DG, prior to the mass suspension, from the CSA standpoint, how much did government gain from suspended officials? And secondly, back then, I said,
Prior to
the mass suspension,
how much did government gain?
from suspended officials, because there were some people who were suspended before the mass one. Yeah. So that is one. And the second question is, last year, I think, you came here and then you recommended to the Ministry of Information for 3 persons to be motivated in terms of a salary increment on top of Joseph, Charlie, Agatha, Thompson, and Mr. Lawrence family. How far are we with this top-up salary from the Ministry of Information? And lastly, to Mr. Sando, how many countries can Liberia boast of Now that we have the endorsement issue with Liberia, sit on the UN Security Council. Thank you.
Thank you. My name is something that we are now work for Kerry. So my question go to Mr. President, but anyway, not here. Mr. Sam will answer. So I want to know, because the remains of the late President Togo is ongoing. I want to know where is the Moses going to take the remains, to take the head? Because somebody who died almost 14 years ago. 14? I would say almost 30 years ago, and you're talking about the remains. I want to know how to get the remains of the President. Thank you.
All right. All right, thank you very much. Thank you for your beautiful questions. I will start with Morris. Morris, you're concerned about the state of doctors and a few others, their salaries. I don't want to speak specifically to doctors because doctors are being considered in different categories, in very different categories. And efforts that are being made is better for me to have a chart of what is being done for those different categories to come here to let you know. But yes, there are definitely serious actions that are taken to improve the wages of doctors. We're in conversation with them. We are discussing to come to a midpoint in terms of what to be done while we are putting them in their right pay grades and classification. That's the major problem we have had with the whole issue of salary disparity that you talk about. And that's the reason why the top up is the first major action the government is taking while she is working on fixing the pay grade and classification system. We will get there. Probably before the end of the year, we'll be able to come back to tell you that now all employees will be put in their rightful pay grade and classification. That work is ongoing behind the scenes. We'll not talk about that until we make significant progress. But ahead of that, the top up is intended to at least bring some improvements into the wages of these people, including doctors. They are all involved in the metrics I will just share with you. Alfonso, you talk about the LACC published a total of 457, and we blocked the salaries of 216. I was very emphatic, unambiguous. I said spending entities constituting the centralized payroll which the Civil Service Agency controls. Those from those 100 plus spending entities affected by the President's action is a total of 216. Because we control that, it was easy for us to just go into our system and click the functionality to stop their salaries. We also inform you that in addition to the 216, there are several others in state-owned enterprises which we do not have the report, and I don't endeavor to guess that it's my responsibility. It is not. That's why I said the CSA and the Bureau of State Enterprises, which is responsible for managing state-owned enterprises, is currently working on blocking the salaries of those affected as state-owned enterprises. And we have agreed that when those salaries are blocked, the report will be given to CSA. Probably the state-owned enterprises will tell us it was a total of 215, 230 individuals. We stay away that number to count. But we said we took action on 216 because those are the ones in our purview that we control. So, Cora, you said MICAT is not involved in the top. I'm sorry. So there are certain sectors that are covered for this part of the top-up. They are education, health, the security sector, and agriculture. Agriculture is the mainstay of our economy. It's critical. MICAT is important, but if we are talking about self-sufficiency in food production, we have to make sure that the people who are supposed to make this work are on the field now, not sitting at headquarters. So for the top-up portion for the Ministry of Agriculture, We are only bringing up a few people who were below the wage, the minimum wage, up to $150 and up. But the most part of their benefits under the salary top-up scheme is to hire the agriculture extension officers who are supposed to be making sure that the job is done in the leeward counties. So we're doing that. MICAT, I cannot say anything like all the other remaining entities, close to 90 of them or so, but I know that we are going incrementally and it's a step-by-step process. We'll definitely get there. Bala, you asked as to whether there are plans to confiscate properties. I have no ideas. The best person who's going to tell you yes or no is the head of the LACC. And I'm sure she's going to come here because this is a topical issue. She will definitely come here, and when she comes, you can reserve your question to answer that question. But it's not in the purview of the CSA to talk about that, unfortunately. I'm sorry, I would have loved to really provide you information, it being something that, I am supposed to talk about. The same thing with 216 persons from spending entities. Mark, you also asked a question about that. You say, how much did the government gain from those who were previously suspended? We have situations where one person suspended, two persons suspended, and I'm not sure it would be fair for us to have a press conference when the president suspends one person to come here to tell you the president suspended Josiah Joekai, so we got to come say how much the government said because the president suspended Josiah Joekai. For 400, more than 400, that requires us to come and provide update to you on that. Notwithstanding those information on how much the government saved as a result of the president taking those, one person suspension kind of action, two persons, those information are available. That's something that we can provide to you if you just get in touch with us at the CSA. We'll definitely tell you. Because we are always ready to press the functionality. The moment the president says Josiah is suspended, somebody is there to press the button on the payroll, Josiah is not getting paid. That's it. So that information is available. We can pull that from, we can query the system and the system can tell us that. So motivation, 3 employees are MICAT. Yes, in our report we indicated that. When we say motivation, the motivation does not lie with the CSA. The motivation part is a recommendation because motivation is critical. The Ministry of Information decides how to motivate an employee. You could be certificated, you could be honored, you could be giving a day purse or a package. The elements of administration is here. Probably that's something that they will consider. But it's not for the CSA to tell the entity that for your motivation, we want you to consider this or give this. We cannot do that. But we can recommend to the ministry. And thank you for highlighting that. At least the public gets to know that we're not only recommending this based on suspension and warnings, that we are also recommending that entities can motivate employees. That's part of the whole HR system. I want to thank you, and I want to thank you ministers for the opportunity as always. Thank you so much for having me.
Part of the problem we have in our country is that we don't pay attention to details. The CSA boss place the suspended officials in 2 categories. Those who work in the entities have come from what we call the spending entities of government. Those who work with the SOEs. But you said Aviation, government now 457, he said he get 226. Got to pay attention to these things. Because the reason why it is important for you to pay attention is that the whole country is looking up to you. Like I said in my intro, this is the biggest platform.
Absolutely.
It's the biggest platform. So when you come and good things are said, we just want you to be attentive. Because there are scores of Liberians and non-Liberians following you. They want to ask questions, they don't have that opportunity. You are here face to face with the newsmakers. So when you ask your question, Then give me cogent issues the speaker spoke to. Because if you are listening, there will be no need for you to ask what happened here now. 226, but 216. I told you. So let's pay attention, please. I'm not a pathologist. But the young comrade asking me where we see Moses carry the body or the remains when they take it from Central Street. Where do they keep remains? Of course, at the mortuary. And by the way, what they are taking from over there is not body, just the remains. They were buried there how many years ago? What, 3 decades, right? 4 decades. So we'll carry to see Moses funeral palace. Yeah? I can't put my baby, I'm going to carry body. On the UN security, I'll bid for the non-permanent seat at the UN Security Council. You ask how many countries do we have in our corner or how many countries have endorsed us. I announced during my remark that Liberia got an overwhelming endorsement from the African Union. That means to say all the countries in Africa have endorsed Liberia. So the next strategic objective of the steering committee is to move beyond continent. Like we said, we want to get a minimum of 260, 280 votes. There are 193 members, country at the United Nations. We want to have an overwhelming majority. So yes, we have a lot of countries in our corner, but in the most recent case, the endorsement we received was from the African Union. You talk about what happened to previously suspended officials who were suspended by the president, what happened to the salary. The 2-3 cases where the executive management have announced suspension for individual, what did they say? You are suspended with RP. Seriously, boss. You care clarify what does that mean? If they say you are suspended with RP?
He is speaking to me directly. Please flash the question, please. Yeah, that's what the president is saying.
So you're not getting paid?
Yeah, you're not getting paid.
Yes. You're not getting paid. In an instant case with the 457 individuals who were blocked or suspended because of non-conformity to the asset declaration, the CIA told you what the government would do. Put the money in an escrow account. And the president will determine how that money will be used. Right?
Yes, correct.
The construction of the overpass bridges, you said, yes, we announced that the work would have commenced in February of this year. But today is just February 18th. Are there not indication that the work will start? All of the structures that were in the way where the bridge was to be built, those structures have been demolished. The last time the Minister of Public Works was here, he said the team was on the ground. They have done their recruitment. The site where the construction work will be done has already been identified. Where that site is, I cannot tell you. You have to ask the Minister of Public Works what they got that site because I don't work with them. But on your inquiry as to when the work will begin, it was announced that the work will start in October of this year. And I think we should keep it as that until it turns out to be on the contrary. My brother James asked What measure is MICAT taking to work with rural radio station to expand the coverage of the MICAT press briefing? Most of the rural radio stations are in partnership with Internews. Part of the problem that we have with many rural radio stations is that majority of them were established without taking into consideration what the rules, the regulations say about establishing community radio stations. You can understand. So what we've done is to work with Internews to ensure that we can regularize their statuses with the government of Liberia. Because if you don't have documentation with the Ministry of Information, and you run a community radio station out there, you have to do so illegally. Don't forget, this is a ministry that is clothed with authority to supervise and direct every matter related to communication in Liberia. Whether it's our internet business, whether it's our Facebook Live we're doing, it is our responsibility to regulate it. So even with the bloggers, we have encouraged many of them. Just yesterday we were discussing our senior management meeting that they will have to come to the Ministry of Information, get some level of recognition, get in the form, the procedures are laid down in the Communication Bureau so that you can be identified. Because you run a platform that is influencing, be it social, political, or whatever thing you are involved with. It's media related. So yes, our plan is to continue to work with these community radio stations, the ones that are friendly, and I'm happy that Radio Joy Africa has been relaying the MICAT press briefing. I didn't know. Other than so, I would have given them the recognition they need. Okay, so those were all your questions, and I hope I didn't overlook anybody. And the DG, on behalf of the senior management team of the Ministry of Information, would like to say thank you. Thank you. The passion and dedication that you bring to your job is absolutely extraordinary. And I no wonder why you are succeeding in your sector. The civil service now is on par. The issue of those names is a thing of the past because of the rigorous effort that you applied in ensuring that the reforms were applied thoroughly. So we always happy to have you here at the Ministry of Information. I'm sure this will not be your last time. So we'll be here again on Thursday with another edition of the press briefing. Until we see you. Thank you very much, and thank you.